Hi there. So I wanted to talk to you today about gold and about Bitcoin and about all the money printing that's going on at the moment, because I think it's really important. I'm not saying gold and Bitcoin are going to go to the moon. I just think it's really important that you own a little bit. It's difficult to know just how much money was created to bail out the system after the global financial crisis in 2008. We just don't know, because the money takes so many different forms. During the Conservative leadership contest last year, some of you may remember that, it certainly seems like a long time ago, the figure doing the rounds was £1 trillion. Now we hear words like billion and trillion bandied about so readily these days that we actually forget what large sums of money they really are. And it's worth remembering there are 12 zeros in a trillion. A trillion looks like this. If you had spent £1 million every day since Anno Domini, you would still not have spent £1 trillion. £1 trillion was the bailout figure, apparently. Full fact, the checking charity says the cost of the government was only 137 billion. And this number's more or less confirmed by the Office for Budget Responsibility, that says that the cash outlays by the UK state on the financial sector during the financial crisis was 136 billion. Now, but note the use of the word cash. Not a single note changed hands. So 136 billion, but there was quantitative easing too. 375 billion, 20% of GDP, was created by the Fed, by the Bank of England, to buy assets. And by the time Brexit came about, that figure was 435 billion. And then don't forget the money that's created by borrowing. And the Bank of England also cut borrowing costs to the lowest level in its 324 years of existence. And the Bank of England says that after the GFC, all that money creation had little or no effect on wealth inequality. Of course not. Now, since the coronavirus, the Bank of England's QE target has gone up from 435 to 645 billion. That's roughly 50% of the post-financial crisis, plus Brexit QE, all combined, all being thrown at coronavirus so far. And something similar is going on across the pond. Between 2008 and 2016, the Fed's balance sheet expanded by 3.6 trillion. Last month, another $2 trillion were added. And the figures are just extraordinary, and the definitions are obfuscatory, and every central bank is at it. Money has become a political tool. And governments, and they're supposed to be independent, but a central bank is basically an arm of the government, use money to engineer outcomes. Now, in malevolent or incompetent hands, you get Zimbabwe or Venezuela. In the more benevolent administrations, such as the UK, Europe or the US, the outcomes are nothing like as tragic, but the unintended consequences are still manifold and far from positive. And I've spoken about the unintended consequences of it all so many times, I don't need to reiterate it here. But the point is that with every pound or euro or dollar that gets printed, the state grows. And what's more, it's not just internal objectives. The US dollar is an international political weapon. America uses it to affect certain outcomes abroad. Now, as for all this intervention, how it affects market, I don't think I'm alone in saying that my head it's exploding at the moment, trying to second guess coronavirus. And the markets this week seem to have decided that it's not as bad as all that, and it's soon going to be over. Tell that to somebody who works in a hospital who's lost their livelihood. It doesn't feel like that on the ground. But markets are always ahead of the game, runs the theory. And every bit of news, every development, every opinion, every conceivable outcome, it's all priced in. And at the moment, like I say, markets are saying the worst is over. Will markets decide something different next week? Who knows? But on Monday, we saw a rally 5%, 6% up in major indices in one day. Now, that's not typical of a bull market. That's the sort of thing you see in a bear market. Suckers rally, dead cat bounces. But an extraordinary rally is an extraordinary rally, and it's not the sort of thing you want to miss out on, particularly when the alternative is to hold cash, which is so patently being debased. Quick, buy these companies, which so obviously aren't going to be able to pay a dividend this year. But quickly, you've got to buy them, or buy this company whose business model has been so obviously annihilated. Or maybe it's buy this company because it's about to get all that yummy bailout money. And then, so what do you? So you go, well, stocks. Then there's the government bond market, and that's at all-time highs. What could possibly go wrong there? Government debt. It's insane. So wouldn't it be nice to have a safe haven from all of this? Somewhere you could put your money and know that you won't lose it. It doesn't have to make you rich. You just want to protect what you've earned, what you've already got. Unfortunately, Mother Nature has provided in this regard, and Stone Age man used it to store wealth and to display it, and you can do the same. I'm talking, of course, about gold. Now, of course, I would recommend in the case of gold, in the current climate, more of the storing and less of the displaying. Now, if you've been a follower of mine, you'll already own some gold, perhaps from as far back as the noughties or even before, and that 2013 to 2015 period was horrible. But God, doesn't it help you sleep a lot better today knowing that you've got some gold locked away with your pasta and your loo paper? And just as Mother Nature has provided, so has Mother Technology. Bitcoin, of course. It's apolitical money. It's immune to all the political weaponry and the debasement of government currencies that goes on. It can't be printed, doesn't have any central bank backing, debasing it. And so in gold and Bitcoin then, we have two forms of money that you can't quantitatively ease. Two forms of money that are outside the system, two stores of wealth. And the case for both of them currently looks extremely strong. And as the consequences of COVID-19 and all the associated money manipulation and the printing and the inflation, as it starts to make themselves felt in the years ahead, I'm convinced that gold and Bitcoin are going to have a very important role to play in immunising you from the fallout. And so that's my take on that. And remember, of course, my book, Daylight Robbery, How Tax Shaped the Past, Present and Future, is out now. You can buy it at Amazon. You can buy a signed copy at my website. I'll put a link in the thing below. And the audiobook, which I read, is on Audible and elsewhere. And the audiobook's really good because I'm really good at doing voiceovers. Thanks very much for listening. See you soon. Bye.